Revenge on a road rager. Reading all these stories resurfaced a memory that I had long forgotten. This is so petty and so stupid, but hey, this sub is called Petty Revenge, so here you go. I was in my 20s and I was driving home from the grocery store when this guy in a convertible cut me off in rush hour traffic. It was really sudden, and I narrowly avoided hitting him. I honked at him, more out of alarm than anything else, like, hey, you might not have noticed that I was already occupied the physical space that you just pulled your car into. He started screaming at me and flipping me off repeatedly, furious that I had dared to honk at him. He started driving really slowly in the left turn lane, until the light turned yellow. Then he zipped through at the last minute, flipping me off one last time as he made it through the light, and I didn't. My heart was still racing from the near miss and the ensuing confrontation when, a few blocks later, I noticed the exact same car sitting in front of an apartment building. I pulled over and tried to decide the best course of action. That's when I noticed the peas. I had bought a bag of frozen peas for some reason, and they were sitting there on top of my grocery bag, daring me to use them for revenge instead of whatever dish I was planning on making with them. Did I mention that the top of his convertible was still down? So yeah, I opened up the peas, dinner be damned, and dumped them all over the driver's seat. Insert, revenge is a dish best served cold joke here, LOL. Anyway, I never got to witness the results of my petty revenge, but I can imagine it. If me honking at him enraged him, I wish I could have seen what finding a bag of thawed-out peas on the seat of his BMW did to him. Mother wants to move in with me. Long post, you've been warned I have an overbearing, emotionally unstable mother. See previous post for an example. She recently was in the process of selling her mobile home to move in with my brother because his partner is having their second child, and my mom was going to help with childcare, cleaning, cooking, etc. Well, she sold her place and was at my brother's house for 48 HRs before getting into an argument with his partner about using a pitcher for coffee. Yep. Brother's partner asked her not to use that specific pitcher because it couldn't go in the microwave or something, and my mom basically told her if she's going to live there and help her out, brother's partner shouldn't nitpick everything, to which my brother's partner said, "This is my house." For reference, though, my brother's partner has never worked even before having one child, never paid a dime towards the house or the kid or anything they own. My mother is the one who paid to get them in the house and bought all their house stuff, furniture, etc. And in general, if I'm being honest, my brother's partner is a 35-year-old who sits on the computer playing Roblox all day while sticking her 3-year-old child in front of Coco Melon, so yeah, there's that. Anyways, my mom got very angry when she said it's her house, so she got her things and left, to my other brother's place, 2-bedroom trailer. But he has Asperger's, high-functioning, but difficult at times, and they've been butting heads over little things as well. Like he tells her to treat his place like an infant, so she doesn't break anything, which upsets her. So she doesn't want to stay with him. She got $5,000 for her mobile home, BTW, but she's horrible with money, so she's freaking out and keeps trying to guilt me into letting her live with my partner and I, who live an hour away for many reasons, my sanity included. And she keeps calling me saying she can't believe she's being treated this way by us. Even though I really have nothing to do with the brother's partner drama, but she's making it about wanting to live with me, and I'm trying to help her find a place to live. She wants it closer to me, so I said okay, sent her like 30 affordable rentals, and I doubt she's even looking at them because she really probably just wants me to say she can live with me for some reason. But I cannot do it. She is healthy and capable of living alone, doesn't need a caregiver or anything. A couple years ago, when I lived out of state with my partner, she decided she needed to come live with me, so I said okay, and she stayed for 2 weeks before being so angry about the way I was treating her that she moved back to our home state. All I did was ask her to not come into my bedroom and wake me up in the morning because my partner and I often sleep naked, and it's a bit inappropriate and inconsiderate to him to just come in instead of waiting for me to wake up or text me or something. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I am 24 years old and I cannot live with her. We do not get along when we live together. There are always issues, and she always feels mistreated even when I just want minor boundaries as an adult human. I can't take it. I can't talk to her because she thinks boundaries and mental health are ridiculous, and that I'm being cruel to her. She said she wanted to come up in my area for the weekend to look for places, and that she'd stay in a gross rundown hotel. She always guilt trips me. For the time being, so I said she could spend just the weekend here to go look for places, so she doesn't have to waste money on a hotel, but I honestly have a bad feeling she's going to come here and try to stay, and then freak out on me when I repeat why it won't work, and I just want my own space to live in as an adult. Because of this, she says she doesn't know why she's even alive anymore, and guilts me more and more because I don't want her to live with me. Am I wrong for thinking that's a bit much? She makes me feel like I'm a horrible person for not being fine with whatever she wants. I really wish I could tell her to just take a break from my brother's partner, stay with my other brother for maybe a week, a couple days at my place, if she doesn't get pissed off and melt down before then, which is 50/50ths, and then go back to brother's partner and set some boundaries or expectations about things like sharing spaces, items, and etc. like an adult, but she will act like that's crazy if I suggest it. She can't have a conversation like that. It's either let her do whatever she wants, or you are a horrible, cruel person for telling her not to, or feeling any type of way because she's done so much for you, and etc. I need help. The weekend hasn't even started yet, but I'm feeling so drained. I'm only attracted to my boyfriend, and I'll never tell him that. Recently, I've come to the realization that I'm only attracted to my boyfriend, which, honestly, I'd consider a win. Obviously, I can acknowledge that people are attractive, but I can't be attracted to them, if that makes sense. Plus, the only times I'm attracted to someone are when they have traits that reflect him. I've been with him for almost 7 years now, and I'm still hopelessly attracted to him. I tell him he's handsome and beautiful all the time, but I'll never let him know just how much I adore him. Wouldn't want him getting a big head lol. Slept with 100+ people. Literally would never tell anyone this. So here you go. I'm a 34-year-old woman, was big into coke and MDMA and all the rest of it from a young age, 16, all the way to 26. I've been clean since. Turbulent upbringing, abusive alcoholic dad. My first naughties experience was naughties abuse, and throughout my teens I was more experiences that were not consensual, put it that way. Anyway, growing up with depression, PTSD, bipolar, and my coping mechanisms, drugs, I just used naughties as a form of, well, fucking nothing really. I hated naughties. I hated myself. I was so unhappy and unstable. But here we are, 100+ people. The only person that knows is my best friend. Why am I sharing this? Fuck knows. I'm new to Reddit, and felt like just getting rid of this stain on my chest. I want to leave my husband because his grown child is unstable. As the title states, I want to leave so badly because I cannot deal with how unstable his kid is. They're a grown adult, and they've had their troubles with drugs and alcohol. This week has been really bad, and they've been off the walls. Manic, if you will. Psychotic break, if you must. Their father basically dumps the responsibility on me because he can't handle it. Here's the thing. I grew up in a household with a very unstable sibling. Every time his kid flips out, I get literally sick with flashbacks because my sibling did the same thing. My stomach's a mess. I can't sleep because I'm worried his kid will do something stupid. I love my husband, but I want to leave because I no longer can mentally or physically take this emotional stress. My entire life, I haven't had a home that I don't have to worry about someone going off the deep end. Keep the change, you filthy animal. I am a server, so of course I work for tips. This table had a wonderful time. Their every need was met for about 2 hours. I enjoyed stopping by to check in on them throughout the evening. Fast forward to the end of the evening. I am putting in my tips and run across this annoyance. I had to reread it. I give them the benefit of the doubt, as the payment was split between 2 cards. No, the other couple tipped appropriately for their portion. The charge was for $99.92, and they left me 8 cents. So the total would be $100. To begin, if you are going to not tip, that is your own decision. But really, pennies? They don't even begin to cover my tip out for the table. I didn't bother to enter the .08 tip into the computer. I hope that the OCD itches them right in the brain when they check over their bank account. I hope that they recheck their bank account for days afterwards, just to see if the number changes. I get it. I round up on change as well. Integers just feel so nice, especially at intervals such as 100. Don't do this at the cost of someone else's livelihood. I won't deign to accept it. Entitled dad screamed because my brother put that he had brown hair on his driver's license. My brother passed his driving test and applied for a driver's license, and when my dad saw the card on the table, he literally screamed at the top of his lungs. He was eating a bowl of porridge, but he slammed it on the table and it splashed everywhere, and he started wailing and yelling like someone had hurt him. My brother had put that he had brown eyes and brown hair, and my dad yelled that Chinese people don't have brown hair. He started screaming and saying my brother was self-hating and denied his heritage and wanted to be white. My brother doesn't have light brown hair, but he also doesn't have jet black hair, so he decided to put dark brown. But my dad continued screaming and saying, "No Chinese person has brown hair. Who are you kidding? Why do you hate your culture? Do you think you're mixed? You have black hair." My brother didn't reply, so my dad kept shouting things like, "Just because you're in America doesn't mean you're American. And why don't you dye your hair blonde if you want and finally be white? Is that what you want?" And stormed off. It really seemed like he was projecting or something. I haven't seen him take anything this personal since someone said something about his car needing to be fixed. The funny thing was, the license was just sitting on the table like my brother hadn't even taken it out or shown it to him. He just left it there and my dad happened to see it. Make assumptions and rude comments. Have fun being understaffed. I started working part-time at a gym at the beginning of last month. Most of what I'm hired to do is check people in at the desk, make protein shakes, and answer phones, emails. About 5 to 10% of the job description involves cleaning the studio in between classes, which involves wiping down the weights, some of which are very heavy. Yesterday, I was working my normal shift and bending down to pick up a paper that a client had dropped on the floor when I pulled my back like a sprain or something. I immediately told one out of the 2 managers on shift and said that I would probably be totally fine. I just needed to ice for a few minutes and not pick up any of the heavy weights for the rest of the shift. I wasn't planning on filling out an injury report unless they wanted me to, and they were understaffed, so I was fine sticking it out for the last 3 hours of my shift, as long as I wasn't heavy lifting. The manager said that that was totally fine and nicely told me to get him if I needed anything else. About an hour later, I was helping my coworker clean the workout studio and was cleaning the benches while she did the heavy weights. Generally, I would have done the weights since I am about 30 years younger than her and more able-bodied on a normal day. However, she is more than capable and has cleaned them many times. The other manager on shift walked by the fitness room, gave me a dirty look and asked me to switch to do the weights, and made some under her breath comment about not believing that I was making my coworker do it. Then she walked away without listening to my explanation about my back. I chased after her and said that she was right and I was definitely too injured to do the assigned job she had given me. Also that I had to use my PTO to leave immediately to go see a doctor, and asked her to get me an injury report to fill out. She looked like I slapped her in the face and started to backpedal, saying that I didn't have to do the weights, but I doubled down and demanded an injury report ASAP. Then I clocked out and left, leaving them severely understaffed. I told the other manager what happened on the way out, and he sort of laughed because he knows that the other manager is generally a bitch, who is much more likely to get stressed about the understaffing while he is very chill and a go-with-the-flow leader. Honestly, I should probably thank her for giving me that push to see a doctor leave early, because they said if my back keeps hurting, I have a good case for workman's comp. The smallest petty win over a bully. When I was in high school, one of the tough girls I was friends with suddenly turned on me and went from being a friend to being my bully. Turns out a different girl who was jealous of me told this bully and the rest of the girls in my group that I said they were fucking bitches, which wasn't true. I hadn't said that, and I don't trash talk my friends. Anyway, that's all it took, and my now former friends were cornering me in the school hallways, intimidating me and pushing me around. It finally stopped 2 years later when I fought back, but the heartbreak and hurt about the whole unfair thing lingered for years. Anyway, I was working cash at a big retailer after graduation when my former bully came in. She saw me, came up to my till, and asked to use the store phone to call a taxi. This is before everyone had cell phones. I said sure, and handed her the receiver. She tries to call the taxi, and the store's automotive desk picked up. She hung up and tried again. The automotive desk picked up. She said something to me about it not working, and I just shrugged like I didn't know why. She tried again and again with the same results while I ignored her and did my job. Finally, she gives up and left. I never told her she had to press 9 to get out of the store's internal phone system. I hope she had a long walk in the hot sun and it made her feet hurt. I didn't get even, but at least I got that. Update. 26. Moved out a year ago. Mom wants daily calls, texts in the morning and night and whenever go. Last post, https://www.reddit.com/r/entitledparents/s/hiudddd4. Hello, I know I said I would update on Monday, but it's been a very busy week. I started putting my foot down with my mom when she started doing the guilt tripping. I just said I'm not going to talk like this anymore and ignored her for a little while. She came back a lot calmer and for the first time realized that it wasn't going to work. We still had some bad conversations, and I felt socially trapped a little bit, but there has been improvements on her not freaking out about where I'm going or what I'm doing every second of the day, which has honestly been nice. I don't mind telling her about my day, but I didn't like feeling obligated to say every little thing. I'm upset that my mom is just now much more subtly guilting and emotionally blackmailing me. I can't really call it out, and I'm not sure what to do. The situation is improving, though, so thank you for all your help. I'm sure in a year from now it'll be even better if I keep trying. We talked today, and she still has now taken the path that I had a bad attitude and was nasty to her. And if I want to be an adult, I have to not speak like a petulant child. I don't think I was mean or nasty. I tried to be very civil. Maybe I was, I'm not sure. I saw a therapist and they helped me greatly. I recommend everyone go talk to one if you have anything going on in your life. She basically told me to stand my ground and try to tell her how I feel when she does things. Say things like, I feel X when you do Y or when you don't allow me to do Z, etc. I think the biggest breakthrough I need to make is that if I don't like a conversation, I don't have to be in it. I guess if you have any questions, I can answer them here as well. TLDR. Getting much better, making progress, still struggling, not sure where to go. Petty revenge against me. I deserved it. I used to work as a buyer at a large company. One time my boss had me looking for a product that we needed custom made and rushed. It was a $110,000 spend. So I reached out to my suppliers and had a couple respond saying it could be done. One representative named Ricky did a whole bunch of work for this and worked hand in hand with me to get the product designed and have samples made, which helped a lot for our marketing team. The other rep, they did some work but nothing crazy and had a sample made but of lesser quality and same price. And then my boss decided to choose which supplier we go with, and he chose the supplier that didn't do that much because they had a 3-day faster delivery time, despite me recommending to go with Ricky's company. And so I had to break the bad news to Ricky. She was mad and decided to no longer work with our company, which I understand. Anyway, that was 6 years ago. And to this day, I still get a ton of spam calls and texts, at least once a day and sometime 3+ for a few months at a time. A few of them always address me as Ricky. They started coming in mass soon after I told Ricky we'd be going with another company. I've blocked hundreds of numbers and even paid for one of those subscriptions to have them erase my data from spam callers, and it didn't help. And the company my boss decided to work with, they were nearly 3 weeks late on delivery. The pettiest of petty, but dang, it made me laugh, and still does. I've enjoyed lurking here, and hope you will enjoy this fond memory as much as I enjoy remembering it. It was many years ago, but I still laugh when I recall that day. I was on a highway traveling northbound. The route is divided, 2 lanes either direction. I eventually needed to exit right to get eastbound onto the interstate. A couple or 3 miles before my exit, I found myself behind a real dominguero. This guy was going about 10 under the speed limit. The typical flow of traffic in this area is 5 to 10 over. So I thought I'd get over into the passing lane and get around him quick before I had to exit. I get in the left lane and he speeds up. So I speed up a little more. And he guns it, so I thought, hey, he realized he's going way too slow. I'm not trying to get a speeding ticket out here. So I got back in the right lane and dropped in behind him, now doing about 5 over with several car lengths between us. But as soon as I got settled back in that lane, he starts slowing down again, and now we're going even slower, like 11 or 12 under. So I ease back into the left lane and the SOB guns it again, now doing at least 15 over, and I can't pass without a criminal level of speeding. So I let off the gas and let him get ahead. And that's when I noticed. This jackass has his driver's window all the way down. And I knew right then what I was going to do. I eased back in behind him. Predictably, he goes back to turtle speed. Third time, I get into the left lane and start to pass. He speeds up. And when he lines up so that I am right up next to him, I veered to my right, hugging the striped line as close to him as I can legally be, and I pulled the lever to activate my windshield washer. I held it with mischievous joy, spraying and spraying and spraying. Just as I hoped, it went straight into his open window and soaked him. I got him good. Not just the arm he had propped up on the door, I got him all over the side of his stupid face. He let off the gas, shook his head like a wet dog, pretty sure I got it in his ear, and wiped his face with his hand. Laughing maniacally, I gunned it, got in front of him, and exited onto the interstate about a quarter-mile later. I laughed and laughed for miles. I laughed until I cried and my cheeks and ribs hurt. I still laugh about it. Hopefully you will too. My mother thinks being a parent entitles her to control, obedience, and constant praise. And if I dare push back, I'm the one who has to apologize. Hey, Reddit. I've been lurking here for a while, never really had the guts to post anything. But today, I need to vent. I need to speak up because saying anything at home feels like lighting a fuse in a room full of gasoline. I'm in my 20s, still living at home, not by choice, but because the job market is an absolute nightmare right now. I'm retraining in a new job field. It's like a second apprenticeship, doing everything I can to move forward, applying to dozens of jobs, hoping something sticks. And while that's already stressful enough, what makes it worse is the person I should be able to count on. My mom is the one who makes everything feel heavier. She's the kind of entitled parent who thinks that being my mother means she's always right, always justified, always the victim when things don't go her way. If something goes wrong in my life, a job rejection, a bad day, burnout, her response isn't comfort. It's blame. Her favorite line? Your mindset is the problem. I could apply to 10 jobs in a week, putting real energy and hope into each one, and when I get nothing but silence or rejections, her answer is, well, you were expecting failure, and that's what you got. No, I wasn't. I was hoping but she doesn't understand the difference. She can't. She hasn't had to apply for a job in decades. The last time she looked for work, she walked in, said, "I'll work for free," and boom, she was hired. She genuinely has no clue how hard things are now, yet she talks to me like she's a career expert and I'm just lazy or entitled. And when I try to explain how different things are today, how emotionally exhausting it is to try again and again in a broken system, she gets mad. Not just annoyed. Furious. She'll storm off, slam doors, refuse to talk, sulk like a child. And somehow, I always end up being the one who has to apologize, not because I did something wrong, but because I dared to stand up for myself. That's the pattern. Every time I express how I feel or try to set a boundary, she plays the victim. Suddenly she's too old for this, or says, "I'm just doing my best." And if I don't immediately back down and comfort her, I'm the ungrateful one. I'm the bad guy. This woman doesn't want conversation. She wants submission. She wants me to sit there, smile, nod, and thank her, even when she's hurting me emotionally. If I don't, she'll act like I'm the monster. Growing up, nothing was ever good enough. Got a good grade? You can do better next time. Did something kind? That's what you should be doing anyway. Every win was ignored, and every flaw became a full-blown indictment of who I am. Now that I'm an adult, she's even less of a mother. She expects me to organize my own birthday, bake my own cake, and act like everything's fine. But when it's her birthday, or anyone else's, suddenly I'm the family caterer. I bake, I serve, I smile. One rule for her, another for me. She hates when I take a mental health day or just spend time in my room. If I sleep in or stay quiet for a while, I get passive-aggressive jabs like, "Wow, wasting the whole day again?" She doesn't ask for help. She waits until she's angry and then lashes out because I didn't magically know she needed something. As if I'm supposed to have asterisk, spider sense asterisk, and telepathy to detect when the queen wants something done. But here's what cuts the deepest. If I stand up for myself, if I calmly explain how her behavior affects me, she shuts down. She plays the poor me card. She says I always twist her words, or that she can't do anything right. She makes it impossible to have a real conversation because any challenge to her entitlement becomes an attack. She expects me to constantly prove I love and respect her, but she has never once truly acknowledged how hard I'm trying. She wants me to show endless gratitude just for being allowed to live at home, while using that as leverage to dismiss any of my needs or struggles. She calls me dramatic, says I live in a fantasy world. Once even mocked me by saying I have TF2 pyrovision, like I just make problems up in my head. But this isn't fantasy. This is what it's like to live with someone who treats love like a currency you owe interest on. And on top of everything, she's deep into conspiracy stuff. Anti-vax nonsense, alternative medicine over facts, the whole package. One time I had a serious medical concern, hemorrhoids, which asterisk run in the family asterisk, and she just refused to acknowledge it. Said it was because I eat wrong, and I just have to think healthy. Meanwhile, her asterisk father had the same issue, and she has varicose veins herself. But logic has no place in her world. So yes, I still live at home. And yes, I'm thankful for what support I get, but the cost is high. My peace, my mental health, my independence, they're taxed every day. And if I ever want peace, I have to pretend. Pretend she's right. Pretend I'm not hurt. Pretend I'm okay. But I'm not. I'm tired. Tired of walking on eggshells. Tired of being the only one who has to apologize. Tired of being the scapegoat in my own damn life. Someday I'll get out of here. And when I do, I'm not just leaving the house. I'm reclaiming my voice, my space, my future. Thanks for listening, Reddit. She whispered, "Go raw," on our office trip. After that night in the parking lot, things between us were never the same. At work, we pretended like nothing happened. But when our office planned a weekend trip, I already knew the spark would return. The first evening, everyone was busy with drinks and games around the bonfire. She sat across from me, stealing glances, that same mischievous smile. When the noise got too much, I slipped away, and she followed. Instead of the parking lot, this time we ended up in one of the rooms. The moment the door shut, her drink was on the table, and her lips were on mine. It wasn't soft, our mouths crashed, tongues fighting, like we had been holding back for too long. I pinned her against the wall, hands sliding under her dress, grabbing her ass hard. She moaned into my mouth, grinding against me, already wet and needy. We stumbled to the bed, and she fell face down, looking back at me with that teasing grin. I was about to grab a condom from my wallet, but fuck, I didn't have one. Neither did she. For a second, we just looked at each other. Then she whispered, "Screw it. Go raw." That was it. I pulled her dress up, panties down, and shoved myself into her dripping wet pussy in one hard thrust. Her gasp was loud, her body arching as I slammed deeper. Doggy style, her ass bouncing back against me, the sound of skin slapping filling the room. "Harder!" she begged, and I gave it to her, grabbing her hair, pulling her head back while my other hand smacked her ass. She moaned louder, taking every stroke, her pussy squeezing me so tight I could barely hold back. The sight of her bent over, ass in the air, dripping and taking me raw, pushed me over the edge. I pulled out just in time and shot all over her ass, thick cum dripping down onto her cheeks and lower back. She laughed breathlessly, looking over her shoulder. "Messy boy." We collapsed on the bed, sweaty and grinning, both knowing this trip had just rewritten our story. Told rude lady we couldn't accept Canadian coin. This was probably about 15 years ago, back when I was still in retail and working for a popular bookstore chain in a very affluent area in the US. One lady came up and was on the phone the whole time, getting annoyed when I had to ask questions, not even looking at me, just an all-around rude turd. Anyway, I heard her say to the person on the phone that she still has so many coins left from her previous trip to Canada, and she was still trying to get rid of them. Then I saw her specifically picking out all of the Canadian coins to give to me to pay for her stuff. Normally, I didn't care if a few made their way in. It happened, and I didn't kick up a fuss, but it bothered me she was specifically picking them out to unload them on us. So I decided to be petty because her manners were non-existent. "Sorry, ma'am, I can't take these. They aren't U.S. tender." "What? Oh, who cares? Canadian money is all over and it doesn't matter. They look similar." "Sorry, that's policy. I can't accept foreign money." She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and of course was grumbling and snotty when she handed me the right coins, but whatever. I made her slightly inconvenienced for her rudeness. Mwahaha. Road rage revenge. Today I was on the highway heading out to our summer place. 2-lane highway at 9 a.m. minimal traffic. We are all good. As I'm passing a rig on the highway, some idiot starts riding my bumper, like almost in my back seat. I can see him flailing his arms and yelling. My cruise control is set at 120 km/h, so not like I'm going slow. As he was passing the rig, he makes a dangerous swerve right in front of the truck, passes me on the inside lane, gives me the middle finger and starts brake-checking me being a total ass. But the idiot has his company's name and phone number in huge letters across his rear window. At this point, I'm pissed off, and I can be a petty asshole. So I called the number hoping I would get the guy driving the car. A man answered, and I asked if it was him driving like a maniac on the highway. He said no, he was in town. I told him what the clown with his company name was doing on the highway, and the gentleman thanked me and said he'd deal with it. Because the arsehole is still ahead of me, I see him answer his phone, followed by a lot of hand-waving. He then pulled into right lane and slowed right down. As I passed him, I was laughing my ass off because it looked like the boss was tearing a strip off him. Let that be a lesson to everyone. I may look old, but I don't mind taking the time to ruin someone's day. Rant complete. Thanks for listening. Accident. A while ago, I was renting a flat. I was speaking to a pal on the phone and ran a bath. I forgot about the bath and went to sleep, woke up in middle of night and turned off the taps, let bath water out. The next morning, a neighbor told me there has been water leaking into 2 flats below. The flat below me, 4 rooms ceilings water had come through. The carpets were soaked, bedding soaked. The flat below 1 room had water damage too. I couldn't believe it was my actions, but 2 plumbers say it's bath overflowing that caused it. My neighbors believing I was the cause, which to this day I'm not sure. All were livid and thought very little of me. It was one of the most stressful situations had ever been in. Anyone else can relate? You have 2, give 1 to my son. Airport seat drama. Flying home from visiting family. I had booked myself and my 8-year-old daughter 2 seats together on a fully booked flight. A woman boards late with her son, around 10, and tells me to move because he wants a window seat. I explained politely that we booked these seats months ago. She then goes, "You're an adult. Sit alone. Give him the window." I said, "I'm not leaving my child alone with strangers." She actually yelled that I was teaching my daughter selfishness. I refused to move. Flight attendant backed me up. The woman spent the whole flight glaring at me like I stole her vacation. "No, Karen, you didn't pay for 2 seats. Plan better next time." My dad throws a tantrum when we order food that isn't the specialty of the restaurant. This is so specific, but my dad literally throws a tantrum in the restaurant and yells if we order a dish that isn't the specialty that they're specifically known for. For example, if we go to a restaurant that's well known for making good chicken, and we aren't in the mood for chicken and order IDK steak or roast pork or pasta or something, he will nag and complain for literally the whole meal as if we're committing a literal crime. He'll shout or whine, "You don't go to a chicken restaurant and order pork WTF?" Even if the pork is good. Like, sure, it may be that their chicken is the best, but that doesn't mean you're forced to order it. Even if we go twice to the same place, he will whine and yell and nag if we got something that isn't the specialty. Like, we went to a Chinese restaurant that was famous for dumplings, and he threw a tantrum because we ordered noodles. We had ordered dumplings the last time we were there. Once my sibling and I went with my parents to a Vietnamese restaurant and ordered Vietnamese coffee with our meal, and he complained the entire time because he said, "Why didn't we go to a coffee shop and buy that instead of getting it from a faux restaurant?" I get having your own preferences, but him trying to control what other people get, even if he doesn't have to pay for it, seriously ruins the meal for everyone. I miss my ex-boyfriend so much I feel like crying. I broke up with my abusive ex in April. I started seeing someone new and things were going great, but today I've been overwhelmed by waves of nostalgia and I miss him so badly. I want to hear his voice, see his face. It sucks, because I know I'm better off where I am now. I feel so guilty that I miss him. My current boyfriend is great, and he doesn't deserve this. I just needed to tell someone, but there was no one for me to tell, so here I am, getting it off my chest to strangers on the internet. I cheated on my boyfriend. He found out 2 months ago, chose to stay, but the guilt eats at me. Me and my boyfriend have been together nearly 2 years, and a few months ago, I just started sexting this dude on Snap. I don't know why. I guess while I was doing it, it didn't really feel real since it was just words. But one morning I woke up after falling asleep mid-convo, read through everything and just felt terrible. I just blocked the guy there. Anyways, my boyfriend found out 2 months ago and he chose to stay. We definitely aren't the same as we were, which is to be expected, I know. I told him multiple times that I know I hurt him, and if staying with me does more harm, then he needs to leave. He says he's the happiest in the world with me when we're together. But when I leave, he starts to remember again, and I'm the same way. I just don't feel good enough for him anymore, like I've just broken him so much I feel like the devil. I don't know what to do. I want to be with him so bad, I love him so much, and he loves me. I regret this so much. I watched my dad's infidelity destroy my mom, and I've become him to an extent. I want to be with him, but I feel like it hurts him to look at me sometimes. I am at the deepest depression of my life. I have never hated myself so much. Fuck insecurity and need for validation. Nothing compared to the guilt and shame of doing the one thing you've always been against. Making a splash with his compliance. Obligatory, not my story, but my father's. My father told me this tale of his childhood. He was a young child at the time, so this would have happened sometime in the early 1940s. He grew up in a farmhouse, and he and his sisters were often shooed outside to play, especially when their mom was busy with chores such as making dinner. However, the previous few days it had been raining, so she hadn't gotten those breaks and tempers were flaring a bit. The rain finally let up and she sent them all outside, but there still was an immense puddle almost directly in front of the front door. Therefore, she admonished them to stay out of it. Well, my father really wanted to play in that puddle, but he was old enough to have made the connection with what happens when you don't obey mom, so he did what he was told and stayed away from the puddle. Now, I don't know if he'd already figured out his mother's preferred phrases, or it was happy coincidence, but he was planning on the following from the beginning, or so he told me. As the afternoon wore on, he played here, then there, and as he became aware that it was getting close to dinner time, he made sure he was on the opposite side of that puddle from the door. Dinner time came, and Mom called the kids in. His sisters went in fairly promptly, avoiding the puddle as requested. He, however, continued to play on the other side, ignoring the call. When she realized he was still playing, she called again, obligatory, not real name. "Johnny, come in and wash up for dinner." Nope, no response, just happily playing away. Then she said it, and boy was he ready. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. John Michael Smith, you come straight here, right now. And so he did. He ran asterisk straight asterisk to her, right through that immense puddle that had been calling to him all afternoon. Fallout was a through scrubbing of a bath and a cold late dinner, but he still remembers today the joy of that splashing run. Be available during lunch? Sure thing. My manager sent a passive-aggressive message to the whole team, clearly aimed at me. Lunch breaks are unpaid, but everyone is expected to be available during core hours, including lunch. I used to take a quick walk or step out to grab coffee, never missed meetings, never late. But fine. If she wants me available, I'll play along. I started eating lunch at my desk every day, no headphones, not working, just sitting. I ignored emails and messages, and when people came over I'd smile and say, "I'm on my unpaid break, but I'll jump on it at 1. One day she sent a message at 12:10 asking for a report ASAP. I didn't reply until 1 o'clock. Someone else had scrambled to do it by then. She later asked why I didn't respond, and I said, I was available, just not working, as instructed. She never brought up lunch breaks again. Entitled dad demanded my autistic son stop flapping his hands in his restaurant. I, 33F, have a 7-year-old son with autism. One of his stims is hand flapping when he's excited. We've been working on restaurant manners, and he's actually great. No yelling, no throwing things, just happy flapping while we wait for our food. Last weekend we went to our favorite breakfast spot. It wasn't very busy, so they sat us in a booth near the window. About 10 minutes later, this man, maybe late 40s, comes storming over from across the room and slams his hand on our table. "Can you control your kid? That's disgusting while I'm trying to eat." I was stunned. I said, "Excuse me? He's not even making noise." He sneered. "He's waving his hands like a lunatic. People don't want to see that here." I calmly said, "My son is autistic. He's allowed to enjoy his breakfast just like you are." His wife then chimed in, "Well then, maybe he shouldn't be in public if he can't act normal." The server overheard and came over immediately. Without me even asking, she told the man and his wife they needed to leave for harassing another customer. He threw a fit, swearing at me and my son as they left. The other diners clapped when they left, and the manager even comped our meal. So to the entitled dad, "No, my son won't stop stimming so you can feel comfortable while you eat your pancakes. Grow up." A morning that turned into a nightmare. I woke up early in the morning at 8 a.m. to a sensation on my hand. I looked up and saw a 3-inch cockroach on my hand, and I screamed and got out of the bed terrified. Don't you laugh, I am scared of roaches, yes. I'm a strong person, I'm not scared of a lion, but the way roaches make my skin crawl, I was freaked out. So I called the friend whose place I was living at, and she said it was all right, she'll call for pest control. So I somehow managed to unalive the roach and lock the room. But I don't unalive things, so I managed to sweep it up and left it in the rain to wash of the spray. Some kind of brain I have. And then I slept in the hall on the sofa, scared shitless. I was having nightmares that I had roaches all over me, and then I woke up again from a call from friend saying the pest control guy is here, and to get the pest control done. The 2.5 hours of my life were the most terrifying ones. It was a bungalow, so there was an infestation and the roaches had made a colony. So the next hours I spent terrified on a sofa while roaches ran all around the house dying of the pesticide. I felt both terrified and horrible to have been there and to have had them unalive. I'm in a hotel right now. My whole day was spent being anxious. I still am. Thought letting it out might help. My ex-boyfriend raped me when he found out I cheated on him. TWSAY, F21, recently cheated on my BF, M23, of 2 years. I fucked up big time, I know. I slept with a guy who I used to have an on and off thing with, making it worse as we had history. In all honesty, I cheated because I was deeply unhappy with my boyfriend, and I honestly just liked the attention. A pathetic excuse. I should have just broken up with him, like I had judged so many other cheaters for not doing. I have been cheated on multiple times in the past, too, making it even more horrible as I know what that pain feels like. The following days after I cheated, I was sick with guilt. I was vomiting all day, ridden with stress and anxiety. I couldn't handle it. 3 days after it happened, I decided I had to admit what I'd done and end the relationship. This is where things got bad. My boyfriend and I sat on the couch and I confessed everything. I could tell his initial reaction was more angry than it was sad. I was scared. I knew he had temper problems, so I was already nervous to do this in person, but over text call didn't feel right. He was silent for a good minute before he lost it. I was expecting his reaction to be throwing shit, hitting the wall, screaming at me, but it wasn't. It was a very collected, deliberate anger. He wrapped his hand around my throat and climbed on top of me and started saying horrible things. He wasn't yelling, he was talking in a low, deep, angry voice. It was fucking terrifying. He called me every degrading name under the sun. He lifted up my skirt and was being so quick I couldn't stop him. I was crying and begging him to stop, but it was only making him angrier. He told me I was a fucking whore who clearly needed to be shown a good fucking. Then he said, "You want cock so bad, I'll fucking give it to you." I was sobbing at this point, but I was trying to be quiet. He was so angry I was scared to fight back, I just wanted it to be over. When he finished, he started crying, got up and walked out. He left me there. I could barely move. I wasn't even crying anymore, my lip was just shaking and I had my eyes shut so tight. Afterwards, he texted me and said if I tried to report him, he'd tell the police that I have a rape kink, I shamefully do due to past naughties trauma, and that he would show them the messages, videos proving it, claiming I wanted it, and it was CNC. I am into CNC, not real fucking rape. He also claimed that he would tell all my family and friends that I cheated on him so my reputation will be over. IDK what to anymore? Part of me thinks I deserved it for cheating and I shouldn't have provoked him. Part of me thinks he's a monster. I'm so lost. I feel so broken. Filthy Airbnb and arrogant host. This was quite a few years ago. We went to our first Airbnb and arrived late in the evening. The facilities were horribly dirty. In the bathroom, across from the toilet, was what looked like vomit on the wall. There was old food in the kitchen refrigerator. There were dirty fingerprints all over the cupboards, fridge, stove, etc. The bed was unmade and the sheets looked used. The second bed frame squeaked loudly every time you moved so bad that I had to put the mattress on the floor to sleep. We complained to the host and she said that she pays a cleaning service to do that, and grudgingly brought over new sheets and towels. When we complained about the vomit, she said it was a paint stain, which it wasn't because I cleaned it up. Because it was late at night, we stayed the night, then asked for our money back as we had originally planned on staying a week. She told us that we had to cancel the booking when in fact she was supposed to. When we canceled, we found out that we were docked an extra day penalty because we had canceled early. If she had canceled, then we wouldn't receive the extra day penalty. We left the next day. When we discussed it with the host about getting a refund for the extra day, she refused, then told Airbnb that we were difficult and that she had kicked us out. We argued with Airbnb for months to no avail, as they believed the host even though we had sent them pictures. Their policy was that since we canceled, we were penalized. I happened to notice that the city where the Airbnb was had an online registry of licensed secondary suites. I looked up the Airbnb address, and it was an unregistered suite, which meant that it was never inspected and hadn't paid the city licensing fee. I made a complaint to the bylaw officer with details of the suite and pictures showing the rear entrance. The Airbnb host received a $2,000 fine, plus had to go through the inspection procedure for another junk of change. All for not refunding $150 for the extra day. Dental catalogs. My neighbors decided to block the intersection and light of mortars, yes, the aerial kind that use tubes as launchers, on the 4th of July for over an hour. Next level illegal in my state. They wouldn't stop even when asked. We even mentioned that it's illegal and that other neighbors were hosing down their cars and watering their yards. I also expressed concern about all the unalived, dry brush they cut down and abandoned in their yard a month earlier. One of the homeowners got 1 foot from my face and yelled, "Fuck you." As we were walking away, the police showed up and informed the neighbors that what they had going on was a jailable offense, not just a citation, but jail just for possessing them. They were pissed that they had to clean up, but did it. Just so you know, the homeowners are missing many teeth, and I was feeling especially petty and signed them up for dental supply catalogs. I felt kind of bad about until I and other neighbors found a ton of firework debris in bushes, on dry grass, and under trees. It's been really dry here and there is a burn ban. They could have started fires, so fuck 'em. My best friend sends me photos of her boyfriend. My best friend has gotten into the habit of sending me photos throughout her day, and that it's okay. A year ago, she started dating a guy, and those photos became pictures of her and her boyfriend being affectionate. I thought it was strange, but didn't say anything. Recently, those photos turned into intimate photos of her boyfriend. I've tried to stop her and tell her that what she's doing is wrong, but she keeps doing it. We've been friends since school, and she's always been very open with me because she trusts me a lot. But sometimes it's uncomfortable, and I think she crosses a line. The last time I talked to her about this, she got angry and told me that I'm her best friend, that she knows me and knows why she sends me those photos. I'd like to mention that I'm a gay guy, and I really don't want to think that they're provoking me to see my reaction. I've thought about talking to her boyfriend because he's a nice guy and doesn't deserve to be exhibited with those intimate photos and videos without his consent. But sometimes I think they might both be behind it. What should I do? The postman always rings twice. Around 15 years ago, I worked in an office with a guy who had a laser printer installed in his office because he needed it. If anyone sent jobs to his printer, he would chew them out, even though we only had one other laser printer and it was on the other side of the office. He was an obnoxious jerk, and universally not liked. We discovered the need for the laser printer. He was selling stuff on eBay and was printing mailing labels on the printer. I had to drop off a ream of printer paper on the table with his printer and noticed an eBay mailing label. He was in a meeting, so I took it to a copier and quickly made a copy before putting his label back in the printer tray. I then used it to mail a box of pens to the recipient and went to the post office to submit it. I was back in the office before his meeting was over. When he posted his package, using the same shipping label, it would be returned to him, and he would have to pay for another shipping label. Plus, the delivery arrived late, and eBay would ding him. He never mentioned anything at work, because he was breaking rules to run his eBay business there. Over the next 6 months, I did this 3 more times. I'm pretty sure he had no idea how that was happening. Careful on what food you steal. Back in the early 2000s, I worked for Hooters as a manager. We had this old dude that was funny as hell. One day he played a little prank. He made what looked like Blondie or peanut butter squares that were made from the flour that was filtered out of the fry oil. We filtered the oil every night. There was always a layer of cooked flour and we would toss it out. Like clockwork, one person would grab one and take a bite and then spit it out. Fast forward 10 years. I am now working in sales, customer service at large cable internet company. We had about 300 people total in this office and I worked second shift. There were maybe 50 people on this shift. Every night someone would take my food. I wanted to teach them a lesson. First I wanted to make brownies with laxative baked in. My roommate stopped me and said why if the person get really sick or harmed. They might fire you. So that's when it hit me. The fry oil blondes. I went up to the store to get the things I needed to make Hooters style wings. I think we made 30 or 40 wings that night in my little tabletop fryer. I let the oil cool down a bit and started to filter the oil to make my blondies. The next night I took them to work. My desk was close to the break room where the refrigerator was. 2 hours into my shift, I found out who was the thief. It was one of the quality service managers. She was hacking and spitting all over the floor, demanding to know who tried to poison her. I could not control my laughter. She saw me and went to my manager. He took me into an office and asked what I thought was funny. When I explained to him what I had done, he was trying to stay professional but cracked. After he found out it was not poison, and she had brought this on herself, he told me to go back to work. She was written up for taking someone else's food. I told everyone what happened. She left the company a few months later. Crazy my food never got touched after that. I have a secret drawer filled with used condoms, and my friends found out. Using an anonymous account for this, I, 31M, have a specific drawer in my bedroom. What makes this drawer specific is the bottom drawer, which so happens to be filled with used condoms, properly used ones. In January of this year, I had done it with my SO at the time. She has finished, and I took it off afterwards and had nowhere to put it. No bin was in the room. I see the drawer across the room from me, and I immediately walk over with the condom in my hand, open the bottom drawer, and throw it in there and act like nothing happened. It happened 2 more times, all for the same reason. It is now August of this year, and the realization that there are 8-month-old used condoms in the bottom of my drawer in my bedroom. I purposely avoid this drawer for a reason and forget what is in there. Until I had friends over and they were just exploring my room. A friend, while doing this, opens the bottom drawer, and then they see all 3 of the used condoms in my drawer, now constantly reminding me of it. I'm too scared and disgusted to throw them out now, and I don't want to see the state they're in and have just accepted losing a drawer and possibly getting some weird virus. Holiday hell. How do people put up with their parents deciding to come along to a holiday you paid for ages ago for yourself and your significant other or special person in your life? For context, I won a holiday some time ago. The only thing I had to pay for was extra accommodation for one other person and the fuel to get there. Everything else, food, spa, 2 nights for one person, a trip out to a D&D event, author talk, and cosplay fun day, yeah, I'm a nerd, was sorted. I mentioned it in passing to my parents, whom I live with, that I wanted to make sure my car was safe for the journey. Some 4 hours drive on some pretty harrowing roads in wet weather. They immediately booked the accommodation for themselves and packed their bags, saying they were coming. When I politely explained it was just for 2 people, they told me they deserved the holiday and they were going, that I couldn't afford it. They went through my bank accounts, withdrew money as repayment for the accommodation they'd booked for me, checked all my budgeting and ripped it to shreds. They then kept going on and on about the trip we were all going to have. They have no interest whatsoever in D&D, cosplay, history outside of their own special interest area, author talks or any such thing. I didn't want to take them, because one particular parent has mobility issues and one event I was going to was upstairs. They pushed me to cancel it as they needed the holiday, and it would have been so unfair on them to not be able to go upstairs. My +1 I was going to take with me initially came down with COVID and we all got sick, so I was given a booking for another time and a different but even cooler event. Well, that another time is now today and I haven't told anyone yet. I'm scared. What if they suspect something and demand to come? What if something happens to me on the road? They won't forgive me if I just take off without telling someone. I put boundaries in AMD, try to be honest with them, but they just walk all over boundaries and do what they want anyway. Always have. How can people set firm but fair boundaries and be listened to by parents who never usually listen? Am I being selfish, wanting a break from them and not wanting them to come? Am I being selfish, telling anyone, just taking time for myself to heal and refresh so I can help them? I've told a friend about their behavior, but said friend just called me an a-hole and that my parents really deserve the break. Would you just take off and go to the pre-booked holiday? Or would that be a dick move? Thanks. My mom texts and calls me incessantly when I don't answer my phone right away. So first and foremost, I'm 30 years old, meaning I'm a grown *** woman. These past few months I've been talking to my mom less, because she was making everything about her when I had a breakup in April and that was the last straw. This has been going on my entire life. I didn't go no contact, I just speak to her a lot less frequently. Now, this past week, she has been texting me random, irrelevant information that does not involve me. I'd hate to sound harsh, but it's just the way she's doing it. She will send me back-to-back texts when I don't respond and then say something like, "Yep, I'm happy for me too," without even giving me a chance to respond. Today, I took 20 minutes to respond, and that was way too long for her, so she had to be snarky about it. I was napping. About a month or 2 ago, I was in an online therapy session and she called me 5 times and sent me like 10 text messages panicking because I wasn't answering. I'm an adult with a job, dogs, and a boyfriend that lives with me. Yes, we're still together. Why does she feel entitled to my time like this? I have 3 other siblings that live in the same city as her. Bother them. I'm just super frustrated and it's making me pull back more and more. She's always wanted so much attention from everyone and always acts like a victim when she gets called out. I called her out for sending me 1,000,000 texts today and told her I was putting my phone on Do Not Disturb. Her response was simply, "My bad, have a good night, over it." Update. I confronted her and she apologized, mixed in with some over-explanation and invalidation. She's going to think we're good now that she's apologized, but that's not a real apology. "I'm sorry, but" is not acceptable. I don't know if I'm just crazy or overreacting about my mom or not. I want to start by saying my mom is a good woman. She had a hard upbringing, I know, and she's gave me a real good life, and I am thankful for her. That's all just a preface to say this. It seems like she likes to argue, and I always end up feeling bad, like maybe I let her get to me too easily, and I could have diffused the situation better. Anytime I try to stop by and visit her, we always end up in an argument, and it's always over something silly. Example. This evening, I was showing her something I ordered off Amazon, and she asked me if I had Amazon Prime, and I told her yes. She then said, "I didn't know that. I could get you to order me stuff and I'll pay you." To which I responded that I've told her, because I've ordered stuff for her before off there. Then she immediately starts getting defensive and argumentative about the fact that I've not told her, saying, "You've only told me you had a Sam's Club membership," to which point I start getting aggravated. And then that's when I feel like she feeds off that by making snide remarks and saying, "I'm just not going to talk to you about it anymore." Am I just letting her get to me and overreacting? Or is that her goal to get a rise out of me? Maybe she has something within her that makes her like arguing, or maybe I'm just being sensitive and need to chill out. It's really hard to explain the whole context of the arguments we get into and how silly they seem. Anyways, any opinions would be appreciated. Video attendance is required. We're still mostly remote at work, with more and more of the coordination done over chat. Meetings are mostly audio and shared screen. One unpopular program manager has begun to make it a point to ask everyone to turn cameras on for better communication. He called me out today and I discovered a lovely bit of maliciousness. I turned my camera on, and we immediately discovered why TV announcers dress simply. I was wearing a golf polo with fine horizontal stripes. Every time I moved, a moire pattern danced across the screen. It was the most obnoxious, attention-grabbing thing I've ever heard. Cue 5 minutes of razzing me about my shirt. I spent the rest of the meeting fidgeting in my chair. I can't wait for next week's meeting. I have several more shirts with similar patterns. Sexting is better without sending nudes. I just feel that must if the time sexting feels interrupted by asking for photos. I like to think sexting is like writing an erotic fantasy with another person. It's creating erotic art, though imagination. Don't get me wrong, sending pics can add to the fun, but most people are so insistent on wanting you to send nudes that turns off all the fun. What I try to say is, sexting by itself is amazing, and doesn't rely on pictures or audios to be good and enjoyable.